Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of the IP3 podcast. I'm Kevin, joined today by Alex Becker. Still no Rhea, but she'll be back in due course. Um, so the big things we're talking about today, US Nats happened. Alex, Rhea, and I all played in that event. Calling Bologna happened this past weekend with some fun surprises as far as top placing decks. Um, Nats season is underway. The next 3 weekends, the rest of the world is gonna play their respective national championships of varying sizes, and um, excited to see some coverage of that. Uh, the real, well, I don't know, arguably biggest news though, new has hit Living Legend status. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Spoiler if you haven't seen Calling Bologna coverage or anything about that and you live under a rock, even though you, for some reason, watch Fab podcasts or listen to. But yeah, thanks, Tommaso, for winning Calling Bologna with new, which was just enough to bump her over the LL threshold. No more. I mean, Bondswagon still exists, but new is just like um, not the most fun deck to play against, kind of regardless of what you're doing. And Guardians are going to be very happy that they get to just come back and play the game again.
All their blue cards get to be good again. As a
Uh,
person who plays Verdance, I'm also happy that New is gone. I don't have to protect my healing potions and Heartbeat of Candlehold and all that, all that jazz.
yeah, and honestly, like it's just that she was the most like in my mind, it was just that she was the most egregious Bonds of Agony user. And that card is just really not fun to try and deal with, especially when there's you got plenty of plus threes, you got an onboard +1 you have to worry about, and then uh, just a cool trio of +5s on attack reaction. So sometimes you're like, awesome, I got you covered all the way up to 11, and they're like, sweet, how's like 16? Just irrelevant. I like, look at me, Assassin's Hand Disruption, those make sense. They go together great. I didn't love that Bonds of Agony just also could just strip power cards out of your deck. At least not on such a impressive otherwise card. It would have been good enough even if it didn't take cards out of your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it just messed up your hand, okay, like that's okay. But there's some decks, like I'm thinking Bolton specifically, where you have like 6 specific power cards, and those are going to be how you win the game. If you just lose those without getting to play them or really have an option. Like if you block with your whole hand and then they still hit you and go like take something out of your deck, then you just don't get to play the game really because your win condition is gone. But
Yeah.
enough about that.
Enough about that. The grass is now greener. There's less mono blue decks in the world. MST has rotated in full, in totality. Uh, it debuted pretty much last year at Nats, right? Was the first MST event. Yeah.
Yep.
1 year later, gone. Clean sweep. Goodbye.
Get your
Uh,
Marvel cheat now.
yeah. Wait for the Marvel cheap prices to dip a bit and grab them when they're worth next to nothing. I will say it's a little sad because like it's very obvious that James White like loved MST, right? And like flavor wise, like the stuff in it was cool. The flavor is awesome. Transcending is a neat mechanic. Uh, but yeah, it's unfortunate that the just
The
crazy
hard
power
part,
level all the way around is gonna have it not remembered fondly, even though
yeah,
it's was a thematically awesome set.
Yeah, I think transcending is a super cool mechanic, and I'll be excited for them to eventually bring it back. But I think inherently the problem with having all the power cards in your deck be blue means that then they're also your resources and then also your defense. So your like every hand you draw is good. Like you don't have the inherent deck building restriction of like, oh, I can't put too many like red power cards in my deck because then I'll draw them all at the same time and won't be able to function. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna put all the good cards in my deck, and since they're all blue, they're also my resources.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder when, like, we'll see. We'll definitely see Mystic again. It's going to happen. Uh, it'll be interesting how different um the hero powers look. And actually, I was briefly like, oh, I guess maybe they don't have to ban Traverse if they just change the hero powers. And then I remembered that Manifestations of Mirror Guy is a card. So if they don't
Not a
want the next
specialization.
right, if they don't want the next Mystic Illusionist to do the same thing, that card's just gotta go. Send send it the way of LL. Let it just do crazy stuff there. Um, the Mystic heroes will be fine. Levels of Enlightenment is still an absurd card to exist in the game. So let Traverse go. Let them transcend uh, naturally and redraw and shuffle naturally. um, but all right, so yeah, new LLing. That's just the newest exciting thing that happened. Rolling it back a week earlier, USA Nationals, the debut of High Seas, both for limited and constructed, uh, and Gravy Bones made some noise in these first couple weekends. Um, I think it was there was a lot of well-known players on strong teams that ended up playing it in Nats, and while there was a pretty wide variety of results, at least early on. We had a buddy who was unfortunately at the O2 tables, but surrounded by the likes of, I believe, Michael Fung, Brody Spurlock, um, maybe
That
one or two
issue.
of the Pat, yeah, uh, Pat Eschke, and yeah, so a lot of O2 gravies early on, but it did seem like most, if not all of them, rallied to, uh, like I think both Brody and possibly Fung made day two at 5-3. So there was some comebacks after some weird early matchmakings that you know tend to happen at nationals events. Um, I played against one Marlin in nationals. It was just this like Death Dealer Cheerios aggro deck, and I played KO at Nats, and so we just no blocked each other for about 3 turns, and I I had the first turn that forced blocking and then still pushed through problematic disruption, and I won the game. It just a CNC for 8 going and at the right time. Turns out pretty strong. um,
Sea Legs is a pretty cool card in KO.
yeah. Uh, didn't really do anything in that particular game. Or I might have honestly might have randomly flipped it off the top, but I don't think it um, was relevant in the way that game played out. Um, but yeah, so we all played in nationals. I ended up 5-5. I made day two at 5-3, and then started off day two punting in a draft game in a way that was devastating and virtually game ending, which was unfortunate for me. Paid a little bit of we'll call it the fatherhood tax. I had one game on each day that I have a decision that it's like cool. I wish I could get back to that moment and convince myself to rethink things through for another 10 seconds. Um, but I played KO. I went 3-2 in constructed. Um, and then 2-1 in draft. I drafted Marlin. I drafted that was a pretty good Cheerios Marlin deck that I drafted. Um, Pack one, picks 2 and 3 were both Swift Shot, and I was like, all right, we have the plan. um, but yeah, my CC matchup, my CC games were on the whole pretty good. Um, I played against two Florians. Um, man, what else did I play? I'm just completely blanking. Two Florians, an Azalea. Um,
Marlin in an Azalea costume.
yeah, yeah. Marlin and I'm drawing a blank. I have my life pad sheet somewhere else. But yeah, so I round one pair into a Florian, which was a deck that I went into the weekend being like, okay, I have a game plan. I know what I'm doing here. I know the 9 cards that come in. Let's go. Let's win this match. And round one, it just didn't work. Some inconvenient, unfortunately timed. Well, not even unfortunate. It was just 3 Plowanders in 4 turns carried them through the mid game because I wasn't able to actually like play a 5 card hand when on my setupy turns. Um, and then I got too low before they got online. Um, the Marlin game was an absolute just race to the finish, and I was the one who was able to sort of voluntarily go to like that 2, 3, 4 life range, keep a full grip, sort of in the danger zone kind of thing. Um, and I come back with Command and Conquer for 8 with Go Again into Bear Fangs for 8, which they gave me 3 cards to protect their 2 cards in Arsenal. But then they had to block with New Horizon to
So
not
you got the
die
cards
to the Bear
anyways.
Fangs for 8, so I still got the Arsenal cards out of there. Um, and it was sort of just nothing too interesting past that point. Um, the Azalea game is the game I'm probably most proud of on the weekend of how I uh, navigated it because it started out with I lose the die roll, Azalea goes first, and they turn 0 dominated red in the ledger for 8, and I took 5 damage, and I I think like sent a bear fangs back or some moderate damage. This Azalea didn't block at all in this game until they had to like super late into it. Um, but I was basically just able to value trade well enough um, that the numbers clawed back, and I actually won that game at like 6 life, which feels kind of ridiculous given that I started -5 in that department. But yeah, was able to close that one out. And again, for the life of me, cannot remember the third hero that I played against, but I beat the other 3 heroes and I lost to 2 Florians, even though Florian was like part of why I
The
was like,
reason.
I'm gonna run KO. Intimidate's really good when you're trying to block people out. Um, and the second Florian game was that was my day one punt. Um, it was weird because so you don't normally get good Scowling Flesh Bag value in that matchup. Just they don't go wide all that often, and not in a way where you can um get a good amount of value. So that's like even more why I kick myself for I had a turn where staring at a full grip, I had I had cast bones, so I was like 7 might, 2 agility. I had a blood rush bellow in arsenal or in hand, and then like a good red in arsenal, blue and blood rush bellow in hand, and then the reds I have are runner and a red bear fang. So like this turn is gonna look just filthy. Um, and opponent sends some vanilla damage, and I'm thinking about it. And they had a card in hand, card in arsenal, and regardless of if I scowling, they could send sword for 3. And I was like, like what are the chances? It's a felling of the crown exactly.
It's
Because I
always
did
100.
I wouldn't have cared as much if they had hit um the plow under because then I still just have like a good um at least one of the good red attacks in hand after the Blood Rush resolves. Um, but it was felling on the follow up. I could have prevented it by Scowling Fleshbag, intimidating their blue out of hand. That like it honestly, I don't even care about the IP, but the fact that if I just like give this 10 more seconds of thought and come to this conclusion of like, wait, why am I thinking that I'm going to find a better opportunity than like safeguarding what is going to be a 30 damage turn? I just yeah, and I was like, no, it's probably not that anyways. I'm probably intimidating for nothing, but you know, plenty of
Turns out
times
you're
in those
intimidating
games,
for 11 value.
yeah, yeah. So it would have prevented felling on that turn. So it would have stopped 5 damage and let me keep a card. I ended up having to bottom something because it was felling, and it losing that card made a 32 damage turn into a 22 damage turn. And when I lost that game, they were at 7 life, and I was like, oh man, would have been real cool if I had 10 more damage or 8 more damage and a extra agility created on that turn. And yeah, so that was a bummer. I was kicking myself for that one. That's the 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 dad tax on day one of playing less than like not even 50 whole games of Flesh and Blood in 2025 so far. So the rust is pretty real. Um, my draft I was really pleased with on day one because I saw Swift shots early. Plenty of times I've drafted Marlin and see 0 Swift shots in the whole draft, so I'm like, okay, sweet, we're good to go. It ended up being open. I ended up going 2-1. I lost to uh, a very good Gravy Bones deck. The draft ended up being 3-3-2. I think both drafts across both days were 3-3-2, with Puffin being the two-seater. Um,
Puffin should be the two
yeah, it's just
seater,
they
maybe.
need such a density of their class cards that yeah, I think that's a pretty natural sort of shape of the table to hit. Um, but yeah, that Gravy Bones game was their deck. They had the best Gravy Bones deck at the table for sure, and just my deck didn't quite cooperate the way the way it needed to. Um, so it was scary for a second because I was like went in at 3-2, lost the first draft game, and I'm like, okay, gotta win out, and was just able to aggro people out of the next two. Um, Made it that of the 4 times that I've played in the U.S. Nationals, I have made day two every time. Which it'd be cool to like spike and win and not day two sometimes, but it's a neat consistency that I have discovered that I have.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, day two punted into an onboard trick into a puffin. Um, all of those goddamn bet cards have so much fucking text on them. No, that was strictly a reading comprehension issue, and by that I mean I was very preoccupied with the activated ability on 3 different cards that I overlooked the just on hit ability of the attack that was coming in. Um, and I'm like, yeah, no, as long as I, block 5 here, you can pump it to 7, and I should just be okay. Um, and they did not pump it. I took 1 damage, but more importantly, they hit. It let them use unicycle and a used cog to renew cog and crank again, and then send 6 more damage, uh, and take my whole hand. And I could have just given them 1 more card and prevented this play and sent back 9, and reasonable shot of winning from there. So full on punt status. That was fatherhood tax number 2. And then the next game I just lost. Just nothing noteworthy happened. Just couldn't close it out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm in Vegas. I'm 5-5. I think it's time to
Blackjack
go play
table.
blackjack. So we did some gambling. That was fun. Um, Rhea ended up 7-6 on the weekend. I don't have her exact breakdown of the formats and stuff. I do know she was playing Slippy, um, and had the killer nails to match it, which were pretty sweet. Um, and I think I think her draft went well, and then the CC rounds just started rough, and it was literally like, you know, she's a little dejected after the last loss, and I'm like, "Are you still having fun?" And she's like, "No," and I'm like, "Cool, all right, time to drop them. Like, let's go. That's how you know." Um, but yeah, so I think she ended up with the best record of the three of us. Um, Spoiler alert. Uh, Tell the people about your foray with Fang, Alex.
Yes, I took Fang for um, constructed. It's a nice, convenient time for me to be like, I don't think I'm going to play Verdance at this event. Turns out, should have. um, but overall, went 4-4 in nationals. Went 2-3 with Fang, and then 2-1 in my draft. First CC round, I sat down against Acilio, and I was like, great, this is a loss because I have never beat Jesse or Mark with Fang when they're playing Acilio in all of our testing games. It's like, this is going to be real bad, but I just know I got to go fast. So put in the flight path and just as much gasoline and swing additional times as I can get out of my sideboard, and then we just start playing the game. I'm at AB0, and they just start throwing this like arcane spells at me. I'm like, oh, this is like even more of a problem because I just don't have arcane barrier. Because
You weren't gonna be pitching
Mark,
for it anyways.
yeah, exactly. Um, and then we get to the point where I think I'm at like 10. They're probably at like 15 or 16, and my hand is really good. So I start playing it out, and I get to like my third attack with two more long whisker loyalties in my hand, which lets me swing an additional time. And my opponent says out loud, "I think I'm going to be greedy here." And so it's like, oh, okay. That means I'm just going all in on this turn because looking at my hand, if you don't block any of this, you will die. So I just played out the rest of my turn, and then um, they finally blocked at my last attack so that they wouldn't die. But I had one more reaction to put it over the top, and then after the game ended, they were like, "I think I should have blocked on that turn." It's like, maybe, maybe,
Decent chance. Decent
yeah.
chance.
Uh, so then round two, I played against a marionette who had actually played against Sophie in round one and beat her. So I played her round one opponent. Um, I don't think I did anything wrong. They just had like if you laid out like four perfect cards for a marionette to just have every turn, I think they just drew them in that order. I don't think I'd never had more than one fealty. I was blocking with almost all of my, my cards every turn. So it's like just couldn't do anything really. So they won that one pretty handedly. Did not really feel like a game. Um, then round three, I played against a KO um, who had beat Garner in round two. So I'm just playing everybody else on the team's opponent. Um, Kabuto does like a weird amount of work in that matchup.
You have to do
As
some funky stuff to not just like let it block 7 on a Blood Rush turn.
yeah, if you go into a Blood Rush turn with KO having agility, you force them to attack with the claw first, because if they attack with an actual attack and use the agility to go wider, then you just block with the Kabuto on that, and you get to block all that damage. So it's a weird game, and then Fang also has to hold two cards in hand or have a Draconic Reaction in Arsenal because of Flesh Bag. So we're both playing this weird like poker game of like, all right, are you going to use your headpiece now? Are you going to use? Am I going to use my headpiece now? That kind of thing. Um, but when KO runs hot, no no damage can be done.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a like there are some decks that can high roll you like pretty substantially, right? Like sometimes Dory just has the perfect stuff and they sort of run you over with counters, but nobody does it just with I mean, I, no, not even pun intended, but just brute force. Just like KO's just like dope. Here's 20. Here's 20.
Yeah,
Here's 20. You're just like, "Oh, okay.
yeah. Oh,
Guess I'll die."
they won the
At least
roll.
it's expedient.
Yeah, they won the roll. They went first, and they did Wild Ride, Make a Might, and then play Cast Bones. Like, oh,
Oh,
okay,
that's that's
that's
ballsy.
a pretty good turn. Well, they I think they drew the Cast Bones off the
Oh,
Wild Ride. So they're like, oh, cool. And then so their next turn started with a swing big for was that 15 go again? uh,
uh,
so they just had a lot of damage, and then the following turn was Blood Rush turn, and the following turn was Blood Rush turn. You know how it goes.
yep. My
Yep.
my my turn that would have been 32 had I not if I had protected it appropriately started off that was the arsenal card. It was Massacre. So my turn was Massacre for 17, go again, Intimidate. It was the start of my Blood Rush turn.
That's pretty good. Um,
Respectable.
so lost that one. So now I'm sitting at um 1 and 2. And then the next round I play against a Katsu, and I actually sit next to Dan Grossclothes playing Katsu. We're sitting next to each other for that round. And then the table to our left had a Katsu at it. So there were 3 of the 5 Katsus were all right next to each other. Um, that was a close game. Luckily for me, I've played a lot into Dan playing Katsu, so I know most of the spots I'm supposed to block or not block. Um, and it came down to us both just like grinding down and throwing value at each other. Luckily, Dynamo does quite a bit of work against Kodachi's.
Yeah.
And then I finally drew my second loyalty from Beyond the Grave. So I got to block with it and then draw a card, which was just the end of the game because then they have to give me their whole hand.
That card is such good design. It's like ah, it's innocuous. One time per game you will draw one extra card. And in that matchup it was the card that mattered. It was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool. I will break our trading 2 cards back and forth forever in this
yeah.
moment and it's just going to be the only thing that matters."
I will block with Dynamo and this D-React for 4 on your attack for 4, so you don't get the hit. So you don't get to search for Katsu, and then you just have to send Kodachis after that. I'm at 5, so I'll just take those 2, and now I've got 2 cards going to draw a third, and then that's just all she wrote with how many reactions Fang has got.
Yeah.
So won that one. It was a close game. And then the last round of Constructed, I played against Syndra, which is usually a close game as well. Um, and it was. But they were doing the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, like Wrath of Retribution combo style deck. And I blocked with Kabuto for a lot of value, but I'm thinking I should have just not cared so much about the damage the turn I blocked with it and just held it the whole game so they couldn't play their Wrath of Retribution. So I think that was a mistake on my part, and I did end up losing that game, but that's okay. So far, only one egregious mistake in five rounds. I'll take it. And then we got into the draft portion. I now know that I have to 3-0 this pod to make day 2. So I go in with I'm gonna play Scurv or I'm gonna play Marlin. The Harpoon version of Marlin runs a lot of the similar cards that you would take as if you're playing Scurv, So I'm keeping an eye out for the specialization because if the specialization is in your pod, Scurv should also be in your pod. So I start taking like good value blue block threes, take a couple arrows that block three. Really just playing the value game, and then I have the six overpower with the Goldfin Harpoon end game basically. And then the end of pack two, I see the Skur specialization go around. So I'm like, ooh, interesting. So in review at the end of the second pack, I was like, could I play Scurv if I end up with it? And I'm looking at, I go through my deck. It's like, I could, I won't have any baubles in my deck, but instead of running these like five arrows that block three, I'm gonna have to run like yellow strike gold
Mm.
and like other cards that just like aren't
The
aren't
baubles of the
great.
set, the cards you are not running
Yeah,
if you
like
can
they
avoid it ever,
yeah, yeah. Like they block two and like they do attack, but
but
it's
not
just not cards
well.
that you want to be playing. Yeah. So then pack three comes around and I get past the scurv and like pick six or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm gonna take it and then we'll see how the deck shapes out, and then I'll have the decision later. Basically, like I'll waste one pick now to take it and have so that I have the option later. So I picked it, and then finish out the draft, and then when we got to
Did you pick it over like any other real cards, like good stuff at that
no,
point?
there wasn't anything crazy. We were halfway through that pack already, so there wasn't anything like there was no like red battalion or
Mm.
red sloop or whatever, which I already had five sloops, so I was uh I was set on that one. Yeah, but then we got to deck building, and I saw that I would have to run like yellow strike gold instead of like these blue block three arrows. So I just decided to stick with Marlin. Um, just then play the first round. I don't even. I'm trying to think. I think yeah, I played versus the Gravy Bones, and it was a close game, but they had the mutiny overpower on a Swabby to end up taking it. They had a bunch of gold and it just did the classic high seas thing where you just pitch a bunch of blues, draw the rest of your deck, and then can 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 work through your turn from there. So I'm out of day two now, but like I have a pretty good draft deck, so I'm gonna just keep playing because I enjoy playing the game. And then obviously somebody didn't agree with that and they dropped, so I got a free win in in round two. So I got to watch Kevin's game, where you get to that was the game you get to send a crash down the gates for 11.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
my second attack on the turn too.
yeah,
I think that was good stuff.
yeah. It
That you
was pretty gross.
that'll win you games. That'll win you
Yeah,
games.
yeah. Um, and then a weird thing happened. Round three, I sit down against I think it's another. I think it's the Marlin Mirror. No, maybe it's good. I can't remember which hero they were playing, but we played the game out. It was a super close game, and I ended up winning. And then my opponent says like, "Good luck on your drafts tomorrow." We like reported, and we're just like sitting there chatting. He said, "Good luck on your drafts tomorrow." And I said, "Oh no, we're both out of it already." Because they changed it this year that you need to go 5-2 instead of
5-3,
4 and
five
yeah
three
5-3.
instead of 4-4.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and he goes, "Oh no, like you like we both have the same record. You 3-0'd the pod, so you're into day two." I was like, "Oh no, like I'm 4-4." And he goes, and we're just like, "Wait, what record are you?" And I was like, "I'm 1-1 in this pod." And he's like, "I'm 2-0 in this pod." So we realized that what must have happened is the other 2-0 that he was supposed to play dropped, and then I got paired up into him, and obviously if he beats me, then he's 3-0's the pod and gets to play day two. But neither of us realized that um, that was the case. Like we both, he thought that I was the other 2-0, and I thought that he was also 1-1, and we were just playing for fun. So nobody made it out of our pod into day two because just the way that people
I mean,
dropped and
you had the most difficult pod in all of Nats.
yeah,
Nobody got out alive.
yeah. So it was a super weird situation. I felt bad. So it's like
Right. It's not something you would have let happen if you realized prior to finishing playing the game, finishing and reporting the game. But
yeah, played the game. It was a good game. Reported the game. We're just chatting, and then realized, wait a minute, nobody got out of our pod because of the way that breakers went. So that
uh,
was super weird.
unfortunate.
But then the next day, I played the calling and opened a disgusting marlin pool with a king shark, uh, and then went 6-2 day one. So made it to day two. Did some drafts. Actually, was in a pod with one of our viewers. Shout out. That's the first person that's been like, "Oh, I come listen to your podcast." It's like, "Oh, wow, that's cool. That's never happened to me before." And then went 1-2 in the first draft. Just it was a weird draft, and I didn't play particularly well. And then Pack One picked one, the dovetail in the second draft. Um, After telling myself that I was going to play anything but Puffin, and then proceeded to just play Puffin. Went 2-1 in that one, so I ended up 53rd place in the calling, 5 spots out of cash, which is tragic.
That
But
that's very weird to me. Like payout to top 48 just seems strange. I don't know why it's not like you you got first and you got second, top 4, top 8, top 16, top 32. Like why do we go to 48 and not 64 for any like it I don't know why.
I don't know either. That's not my job. But I was happy with how the calling went. Just imagine if I had played Verd instead of Fang though. Done the
You
Majin run and just went 5-0 into 2-1 and then win nationals. That's the only difference between our whole weekends.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Just the only thing.
Yep.
Uh Nah, it's a sweet calling run though. Someday I will day two a calling. Maybe. Uh, I had real calling FOMO after punting round one of Nat State too. Though I was like, damn it, I could be looking at a sealed pool right now and doing other stuff instead I'm over here
And the
fucking
team
up.
sealed sold out.
That okay, yes, that was devastating. Team
And the Battle
sealed
Hardened
sold
sold
out.
out.
Battle Hardened
And
sold out. I
the
man, LSS like please I know it like dynamic pricing when events get enormous. Like there were so many people in. I think there were more people in the Vegas Battle Hardened than in calling Bologna, which
so
is crazy.
I did bring up the like prize scaling that we brought up before, but something I didn't know that I talked to Justin about was that if you have scaling pricing like that, then it becomes a gambling event and like is subject to like different rules and can't do it places.
Okay, then if you have X number of players, you split it into two or three separate battle hardens with fixed prize structures that are the same.
You could
right?
potentially do
It's
that, but then all of a sudden, well, yeah, it's just if LSS wants to give out 6 PTIs for
but
that.
like that. But there's enough players that if they showed up for a calling, they'd be giving out at least that many, right? Like it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
understand them not wanting to be quite so free with the PTIs because that people are just gonna accrue crazy amounts, right? We know that. I mean, honestly, it's Brody and Fung are gonna just accrue crazy amounts. They already have them, but at the same time, I don't know. Like you still gotta give people invites and stuff, and I don't know. It doesn't sit right that and like Bologna was sweet. It was great. Nothing against them. It's just that the uh it's they got to figure out a way to either scale them up or split them. Then again, what the hell do I know? They sold out their battle hardened that had 300 something people. All those people paid entry, and they still only had to give out 2 PTIs and $2,000 worth of prizes. So, uh, hooray! They're probably like, no,
um,
no, no, system's working exactly as intended.
printing money over here.
Yep. What else? What else? What else? Um, yeah, Majin obviously went on to win US Nats, won on Verdance, had some pretty fun top 8 games to check out. Um, Second place, Gravy Bones, Jacob Shaker. Shout out to Jacob Shaker for knocking me out of PT1, and then also beating me at PT2. And then actually the funniest coincidence of the trip was I'm flying back. I had a red eye, a Monday night red eye, and I'm sitting. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm dying. At this point, I'm like, okay, the red eye was a mistake. I should have flown home this morning with everybody else. But it was like $100 cheaper. So originally, it seemed like an okay idea. Uh, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at February, and someone asks me, "Oh, did you play in Nats?" And apparently, it's so this guy's name was Trent. He also had a red eye. He meant to fly home on a red eye the night before, but he saw Jacob's travel bookings, which landed on the Monday, but he accidentally booked the same flight a day later, basically. So he accidentally stayed for an extra day. Uh, but yeah, Trent is Jacob's buddy. They test together. That was amusing. Um, I do. It's going to be interesting to see how the meta continues to adapt to the presence of Gravy Bones, because that between the performance at US Nats, which again had a pretty wide array of performances, but also it's a week 0 event. Lists aren't fully refined, and the meta wasn't, you know, super concise so that they can all, tech correctly. Um, so I think the sky's kind of the limit for Gravy to an extent. Um, that said,
Yeah, I mean we've
oh,
like
good.
almost all the board state heroes in the game have LL'd at this point, so now we just have a new one. Doesn't go quite as wide as previous ones, but goes taller. So we'll see. I mean, it worked out for Majin in the finals just to ignore the allies, go face. Like I know you have like a decent amount. I've already played you in Swiss and Decklist Republic. I know you have a ton of allies that don't block, so here's a felling at your face. Here's a red fruits at your face. As soon as you're within 10, you have no AB, and I will just Storm Striders kill you. So
Yeah,
that's an option. Or I think I think Lucas's plan was just kill all the allies with evergreens. So you're not actually
hmm.
losing any cards out of deck, and then just fatigue the Gravy Bones. It's also an
Yeah,
option.
that's
So it just
interesting.
depends on
Two
what people
very
want to do.
different plans out of the same deck is cool to see. And honestly, and like Verdance isn't even a deck that it's not one that you're going to be like, okay, inherently this is going to have like a good Gravy matchup too. So like the Gravy's good, but it more so than I mean, Dromio is pretty terrible against like Rune Blades and Arcane on average, but um, I don't know. Gravy Bones has very pronounced weaknesses. Uh, in the you know when we first looked at Prism and stuff like that, you're like, oh, okay, Phantasms, people with poppers, that's gonna be it. But in the end, those aren't at the same level of issue as you think when you first look at the card pools. Um, but Gravy just gets smoked by Dawnblade. Probably loses to Hatchet's version of Dory as well, if I had to guess. Um, Struggles with Mask Momentum decks the same way, because whether it's, oh, I have no blocks in hand, or I gave you a tackling dummy that I put in play for you to clear to get your card draw, that Mask Momentum is just going to be drawn like crazy. Um, so it definitely, I'm most excited to see where he lands as a board state hero. Um, he also
See, and the
doesn't.
instant,
Oh, good.
sorry, the instant counterplay to Mask of Momentum is just like, all right, I want to play a Rigor Mortis. It's got 1 health. You can't farm like can't farm just the allies. You have to attack me at some point, so I can deny that Mask of Momentum trigger. Um, Dory, I think Dawnblade's just gonna be a problem, and then Hatchets has Cleave. Um, so see how that goes, but uh, yeah, like I said, Grave doesn't have the go wide snowball. It's like he can have 6 allies out on the board, but if none of them are like Chowder that you can just tap to gain a health, or Shelly that you can tap to gain defense on a defending card, if they're all just like the ones that just attack, you,
Six Swabbies is
I,
not a scary board state.
right? You can, if you have a good hand, you could maybe attack with 2 of them. Unlike Dromai and Enigma, where it's like, okay, you didn't clear my board. I am attacking with all of it, and you're gonna like take this damage and then also still have to clear my board. It's like there's different options against Gravy Bones, it seems.
Yeah, the value doesn't compound quite so punishingly and quite so instantaneously.
Yeah, but it's also not a bunch of Ash Wings coming in for 1 or Spectre Shields coming in for 1. It's like
True.
it's a Rigor Mortis and it's
Swappy got
attacking for
hands.
6.
Rigor Mortis
Yeah,
got hands.
yeah,
Um, I think Marlin and Puffin definitely both struggled by comparison. Did not put up anywhere near the level of week 0 and 1 results. Um,
yeah. I, as it stands right now, I think if you're playing the Death Dealer Marlin, I think it's fun. I think it's cool. But if you're trying to be competitive, why aren't you playing Azalea? Uh, and then if you're like trying to do like be a bit more defensive, why aren't you just playing Riptide that has traps that will ping and have triggers on that, and you can still play the same attacks? I think the Harpoon deck is super cool, and I ha- have it built right here. um, but I just don't think that the community at large has found a build that's consistent enough to warrant playing that over one of the other Rangers if you're trying to like be competitive, take it to a calling or battle hardened. Um, I think the Marlin deck has access to a ton of the Ranger and Pirate power cards. I just don't think they all fit together in the same deck. Like Conqueror of the High Seas is a great card. Uh, Three of a Kind is a great card. I'm not sure they should be in the same deck.
yeah,
um, and then um, like Heat Seeker is great if you're doing the double Arsenal New Horizon. I am personally doing cross wrap in my version, but like you don't want to run Heat Seeker and Return Fire in the same deck. I don't think, because if you if you flip a Return Fire off of heat seeker. Now you're down to one arsenal for the rest of the game. Um, so I just think you have to pick and choose what cards work together in the deck and try to make it more consistent rather than just I'm gonna throw in all the power cards and
When are we gonna get? They printed Driftwood Quiver, and that card literally
oh,
just says clear an arsenal slot, and it's bad,
it,
right? Like you use it only one time.
it,
I want to
if it
know
didn't
why.
if it wasn't a Riptide specialization, I would be playing it in Marlin.
Interesting. Well, I was gonna say like I'm imagining a quiver that literally does nothing except let you unconditionally clear an arsenal slot, so that you could actually you could play the deck where you're like, okay, sometimes I'm gonna miss, sometimes I'm gonna accidentally heat seeker a return fire into my arsenal, and then that quiver is literally like, no, 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 fam, I got you. Like you're not gonna just be stuck without this slot for the rest of the game because of it.
Yeah.
It feels like it
Uh,
wouldn't be too busted.
you could run like standing order, but I don't think like that doesn't really go with the rest of the deck. It
Yeah.
bails you out of a situation you don't want to be in. But like I think the
Ooh,
harpoon Marlin build,
or give me the patch the hole effect as a one-time quiver. That's a powerful card.
yeah, that would be good. But I think LSS gave me what I've been asking for, so I have to play it at some point. Is like I have a hand of all pumps. Okay, I'm gonna break this gold. I'm gonna get this token arrow. Like I've said it on this podcast before. Just give me something, give me a quiver that makes a token arrow. That way, if I draw all pumps, I can still have a turn. They not quite a quiver, but basically the same thing. And then they also gave us like, oh, I drew all arrows. Like I don't have any pumps. Well, you gave me a weapon that I can pitch two arrows into, and then it's a pump that turns it into. I think that is super cool, but just finding the way to make gold so that you can have the harpoons when you need them, and then also um, like having enough blues to power your weapon, and then also ways to load since you can't load with the cannon. It's just a lot of things to juggle. They're all doing powerful things. We just gotta find 80 cards that do a cool thing together.
Yeah, is she's definitely the most. I mean, like Riptide is objectively cool. Traps are neat and stuff, but she's definitely the most interesting of them to build. I mean, partially just because how how different a harpoon is from every other ranger weapon in the game. Um, but the fact that like the word reload printed on a card can actually matter for her in some way, shape, or form, right? Like and that's not I don't know. It lets you like when they first announced the first like redo hero or something. You look back at the full ranger card pool and evaluate things differently because no other ranger really gives a shit about the word reload. It's bad. It's redundant, right? Your bow is always doing this anyways. Like I know there's certain situations where that's not the case, and then you get to Riptide, who's like, "Oh, my whole thing is I just get a free reload stapled to every card that I play from hand," uh, and that's cool too. But yeah, this was due, and I think she'll be a fun puzzle to figure out, and excited for the fact that I don't know, like I wouldn't be surprised if she's the best aim counter ranger too. Uh, in addition to the harpoon deck, Levi did a really good deck tech on it that you know is it's kind of guardian esque, but people are going to figure out ways to make the manta bow look crazy too. There's a ranger buff that says untap an arrow or untap a bow. Um, there's just there's a lot of definitely has the most breadth to how you can ever build her, which is just really cool to see.
Yeah, just a talented ranger means you just have access to way more cards. C, Lexi having access to Ice and Lightning and Elemental cards.
Hmm. Um, Puffin. Admittedly, I know the least about Puffin,
Neither of
but
us play
what?
Mech, so
Yeah, no, it's not. We're lacking in that expertise on this podcast. Uh, what I've heard is that the just through the grapevine and through Discord, etc., is that it seems like Puffin is like a power card away. Like there's like need one more payoff for the dirtling and the bothering to do what you're what you're doing with the deck. Um, I can't speak to that personally, but that's also not an unreasonable place for a brand new hero to get released, right? Like that, if people are like, oh, one or two more payoffs or something away from Puffin being a deck worth playing, that sounds a lot closer to playability than uh, Betsy, Olympia, Rhinar. Like there's a laundry
and
list of people worse off than that.
the Riptide is a meme in that he just gets an expansion slot card every set, but he did make top 8 of the Battle Harden, and he did bubble out, I think at ninth at the Calling
Mhm.
Bologna. So it's like Riptide's close. He's gotten enough expansion slot cards that he's finally close.
The deck is almost entirely comprised of Majestics out of the expansion slots.
It's
That's
basically an
not true.
assassin
Don't
deck.
quote me on that. It's not true, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Puffin did give Dash IO some cool cards though.
true. That's Puffin's biggest contribution at the moment. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so the rest of Nat's season is going to be it'll be interesting to see Nat with new gone Guardians get to come back. Guardians Gravy Bones will abuse Guardians less than any of the other board state heroes have abused Guardians in the past. And like just the existence of Midas Touch goes a long way in being that security blanket for him, right? It's not like, oh, I need to make sure my deck is 51 poppers in my 60 card main deck kind of thing. It's like, okay, I can, you know a little bit of go again, some Midas touches for good measure if you really have to. And Gravy Bones can potentially get ground down by Guardians.
Plus Valda is legal now, so
Vault is fair
and we're
game.
getting Mastery Pack in 2 months. So
Yeah, Mastery Pack will come out. Um, yeah, Guardians about to get some juice. Uh,
also Victor just got a Fable that lets him draw a card when he pitches it.
yes. Uh, okay, yeah. An aside on this, I I could talk just at far too much length about this, and I there was part of me that was like, maybe there's a reason that would like make good sense to me. So they printed Riches of Tropal Donnie, and the card is good. It only comes in rainbow foil, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. It's a little unfortunate, right? It'll be the most widely playable generic since Eye of Ophidia, possibly just more playable because getting a gold is, a more tangible in-game value thing to get. Uh, Only comes in rainbow foil, so if you have a non-foil deck, there's a decent chance that you have to proxy that for high-level events. And, when it was just like, oh, if I wanted to play a rainbow foil Arcanite Shard and Viscerai, okay, but like that's one hero specific thing, and there is a cold foil. It's just super pricey. I don't know why, you know, and maybe World Championship is going to be like the one of one gold extended art cold foil Riches of Donny, and that's really cool. But why isn't there a non-foil option from a like putting the cards in your deck and hoping that they're not inherently marked perspective? And I was like, okay, maybe it's just because it's a they have it earmarked to be some epic prize in the future, uh, and that's cool. And then I was looking at the collector's gallery, and I was looking at the amulets, all the 9 treasures, right? Those come in non-foil, and they come in borderless extended art like cold foil Marvel, but there's no rainbow foil version. And I'm just, like Riches is such a one-off thing that it's like, okay, maybe there's some like fun reason for this. I don't know I don't know why there's not a rainbow foil version. That's just an instant head scratcher on those amulets for me. Um, because now I have to put one non-foil or cold foil in a rainbow foil deck, which again,
And the cold
just,
foil, there's only 100 of each,
right.
so they're gonna be expensive.
Yeah, and that makes enough sense that I'm like, okay, fine. You can have your like chase special things, but like why have we moved away from in a set, if this card is new, you can get it in foil and non-foil. Sometimes you can get Marvel, sometimes you can get cold foil and other fancy shit, but why is there not like cool, you can count on this. There is a basic foil and non-foil version of everything in the set. And I can't understand why.
Yeah. I
Uh
think
and it's
I
it's
think us as
frustrating in a similar way to treasure packs. Uh you know, treasure packs and box toppers can be really, really awesome, and they are really, really awesome when they are extra. When Enigma New Moon was in gold packs they weren't in every box, but some boxes had gold packs, and if you got that, that meant you got some special tokens and an Enigma New Moon hero card, and nothing else in
and
the
maybe it
packs
was
was
the
different.
cold foil.
Right, and there was a chance that it was epically rare, and you open like $1,000 card, but usually it's just going to be this hero, and it's a $5 to $10 card maybe. Uh, that was cool. That made sense. That was exciting. Them putting it so that there's gold packs in every pack, awesome. By all means, please do. But taking the cold foil legendaries out of regular packs of a set uh, just sucks. Like there's just it's it opens the door for you know I know that there's places did pre-releases, and while this is not every store, some stores keep and sell off the gold foils, or oh well, some places raffle them off, or like give them to the winners of events or whatever, and that's fine, and it's definitely not an every store thing, but taking the chance to be like, ooh, maybe my 3 prize packs from this pre-release are gonna have a cold foil EA Dead Threads for me. Like, there's still hits. The Marvel heroes come out of the regular packs, and Rainbow Foil legendaries still come out of regular packs. But moving cold foil legendaries to the treasure packs, and then also in those treasure packs, like diluting what you can get with just unplayable garbage, it just blows my mind, right? Like cards that reference Treasure Island. Treasure Island is a macro for this limited environment only. There's a bunch of cards that reference Treasure Island that you can get in their super fancy cold foily version, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be forever, but like that feels so terrible to get as your gold pack card. You can open a $300 legendary, or you can open literal garbage.
See, my gold packs, I got a cold foil bandana of the Blue Beyond, which maybe there's some combo deck that'll play that someday. And then also a gold foil not so fast, a specialization for Scurv.
Yeah,
So
like that
yeah.
one's like neat enough that I'm like, okay, this could be tolerable. But I've opened a couple gold packs, and I think one of them I got was like one of the random like pirate blues, but not one of the good ones. Like maybe like a divvy up or something. So you just like remove gold counters from Treasure Island. The card doesn't have text outside of the environment. It just it's
It's
so annoying.
titanium bauble. Yeah.
Right.
I think that the set, if you're a collector of the game, super cool. Probably the best set ever. Us as players, like I don't care about cold foil extended art dead threads. Like, I just want the game pieces. So the rainbow foils are like that are in packs, fine by me. But making it so that when I go 1-2 at an armory and I get a prize pack, and then I just have no chance of opening anything super cool, I think is a feels bad, and it will just make people not like when you go, oh, what pack do you want for your prize? It's like, well, not high seas. Like,
Yeah.
um, give me hunted so I can get maybe get an extended art shelter
Or
or
a regular shelter,
or a
or
regular
rainbow
shelter
foil shelter.
or or a Marvel Arachne or any other cool stuff that's printed in the packs.
Yeah, high seas, cool as hell. This is the first time in a minute where I just see like there's multiple decisions that seem like head scratchers that don't have at least apparent reasoning behind why, right? Limited only, super fancy cold foils in the gold packs feels bad. Removing cold foil L's from regular pack
Now,
hits feels bad.
now I think yeah, I think like I said, I don't care about the fancy stuff really. So like if you want to put the the cold foils in like the separate treasure packs, that's kind of okay. But if you take all of like the big hits out of the packs, like I said, like your local armory player that like gets a prize pack, like it's not going to be able to open anything like super crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so I think the Marvel heroes are still in, and there are some hits, but there's less hits now, and
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think like I would rather it be, you know, 1 in 8 boxes contains a treasure pack, and when you hit a treasure pack, you know you hit something good. That you're like sick. This is going to be a legendary. This is going to be a cold foil, conqueror of the high seas, and not okay. Cool. I have 8 treasure packs from 2 cases. I hope one of them contains something that like gets me
It's even
excited to
playable and
actually open.
constructed.
Yeah, yeah. But
All right. We spent too long on that, but
yeah, we did.
had to be said.
It
Had to be
it it
said.
did. It did. It took a lot for me to not like set aside a real big chunk of this episode to talk about the things of the printing of this set that just deeply confuse me. And this is not even to say the supply issues entirely not LSS's fault, right? They tried. They even mentioned that they moved the release date of the set back a week to try and make sure everything was there on time, and supply chains are fucked. That's not their fault. They it this is these are the smaller things that are just like, huh? Like why did we end up this way? Um, But all right, so we have an interesting bit of a lull in the competitive season as aside from nationals going down.
I mean,
I think
not
the
not
next
really.
thing.
Next month is Pro Tour Singapore.
You're right.
It's
My
finishing nationals and goes right into the Pro Tour.
Yeah, well, okay. So the we was the actual literal we in that I don't think we're gonna have anyone on Team Eclipse actually going to Singapore. Uh, so we are gonna end up in a little bit of a lull in terms of big events to go to until like calling Kansas City, I think. But it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where things go from here. Gravy is definitely a real deck. People are going to continue working on him and finding ways to counteract him. Um, I am very excited to see what happens now that New is gone. I think her existence was a very real suppressor of Guardians. It's also not a great matchup for like KO too, so that's a KO matchup that you know you could win it, but it wasn't fun on the way there. Um,
Any decks that rely on like specific power cards.
yeah, Bolton, Viserai's gone, but Viserai when he was still here. Um, yeah, and I suspect that by the end of Nat season, I think Azalea will be gone. Um, She is sitting at 931,
936. Oh, I was so close.
off by a little. Um, she's probably gone. I'm a little more skeptical of Dash Inventor Extraordinaire because, like, while she could spike a smaller Nats potentially, I'd be a little more surprised um, if for her to spike enough of those to actually convert and
Well,
go bye bye.
she just has to win one that's more than 90 players, right? Well, actually,
Yeah.
not even because she'll get 1.5 times LL points because she's older than 2 years old, and so is Azalea. So
Yep. Yeah, it was actually so when New and Azalea were playing in the top eight of calling Bologna, I briefly thought, due to some accidental misinformation, that that was the finals, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They're both playing for LL right now because uh, New would hit it no matter what, but Azalea would get uh, extra points for winning a calling and would just go on the spot too. But um, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where Florian goes. I think Florian sort of. I don't think Florian's particularly great into Gravy Bones. It's not unplayable by any means, but um, that is not a
I
great matchup for him.
I think
Um,
the deck just might have to change up. You might have to like have a sideboard for like, okay, I need to kill my opponent. So here's my channel, my heroic, my Rune Rager swarms, my like other go again attacks, and be less like defensive brick wall. I'm just gonna like throw value at you. Instead, make it like, okay, I'm an aggressive deck, and by the end of the game, like every time, uh, like Hocus Pocus turns into a 0 for 5, something like that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm not a
it's
Florian player, so
yeah. It's still, even though things are churning, like the addition of Gravy Bones, New leaving, but it's still like I don't think there's like a clear number one as far or like there does not appear to be a tier zero, at least for now, right? Like maybe Gravy Bones is
yeah.
actually super secret cracked and he dominates Nats from here on out, but
I think I think every hero has a deck that they just don't want to see. I think if you bring any hero to any nationals at this point, it's like, okay, I want to play against this. If I play against this, I'm probably going to get lunch. Maybe not lunch, but like it's gonna be a really tough game. I think every hero has a deck that is like that. Um, so that just comes down to player skill, gem roulette.
and we're not in Vegas anymore, so the roulette is just a little less enticing.
Yep, 200 on black.
I only put
Easy
100.
double up.
Yep. Colin's the psycho for that one. Although he
Yeah,
won, so maybe not so psycho. Um, yeah, honestly, I going forward in this format, I think KO is honestly in a pretty good spot. Um, my interesting takeaway from my games at Nats, um, the three games. So obviously, if I don't punt, I might win the one against that Florian. But the three games that I won, I played zero copies of Blood Rush Bellow. They just didn't show up. And the two games that I lost, I played and or saw all of them. And I'm like, it's not a big enough sample size. Like obviously, Blood Rush Fellows is not just magically a bad card, but it's got me messing around with a bellowless version of KO that I need to get some reps on and see if it's worth it, or and even if Blood Rush Bellow goes on the side or whatever. But the deck just still does giant good numbers, and that's just good enough into a whole heck of a lot of matchups, as it turns out.
Yeah. All right, you ready to get out of here?
I think so. We've yapped enough. The
Mm-hmm.
last 15 minutes have been all over
Complaining
the
about
place.
high seas weirdness.
I wish I understood. I don't want to complain, but I don't understand how things ended up where they did on printing decisions. So that's it. Still love Flesh and Blood. It's still great. We love LSS. Uh, we'll be back either next week, and if not next week, then definitely the week after. And yeah, I think we've got some living legend on the horizon to do some talking about. We've got after the Pro Tour, uh, we got a PQ season coming up and some Battle Hardens and PQ pluses that are LL format. So it's going to be time to figure out what's going on there. But
Dust off Lexi or Dromai or
change
yeah, that's pretty
chain
much it.
for the 14th time and continue playing chain. But all
All
right,
right.
that's spoiler for next time. So thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it if you watched all the way through to the end. We'll catch you next time. See ya.